Hello, my friends. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's having an amazing day, especially if you're a Netflix shareholder. You could use a little bit extra love. You can see here that they're not doing too hot. They had a little bit of a dip yesterday after we learned that they are losing subscribers, hemorrhaging them. Prospective numbers show that they may lose 2 million people over the next little bit. You can see this is what the stock market looked like yesterday at close. Very significant drop. This reminds me of stuff that you see in crypto, but no, this is the stock market. This is Netflix. You can see this is from Bloomberg, says no chill. Netflix set to touch a near 3-year low, and there may be some more dips as the day progresses. We'll have to follow it. But you can see dipping way down to about 2019 numbers. Big drop. And a lot of people are wondering why. A lot of people saying, well, it's because there's Apple TV now and Hulu and HBO Max and Paramount Plus and all of the different streaming services. Plus, you've got YouTube and TikTok now. Watch time is, I think, surpassing YouTube in many places. And so a lot of competition. Netflix, it's just capitalism. They're just having some difficulty. But some very smart people have different ideas on why this may be something that looks like this. Let's see. We've been talking a lot about Elon. Elon, of course, has an opinion on it, and he's on Twitter, which he has not acquired yet, but he is responding to Slashdot. Slashdot posted an article yesterday, says Netflix shares crater 20% after the company reports it lost subscribers for the first time in more than 10 years. Elon responds, says, yeah, the woke mind virus is making Netflix unwatchable. So many reasons why this could be going down. Elon's reason says, well, it's probably the woke mind virus. And other people are responding saying, yeah, woke mind virus is the biggest threat to the civilization as it exists, an existential threat to us all. And Elon, who is pretty up to speed on existential threats to humanity, has built several companies to try to soften the blow of the impending doom, is here saying, yes, it is. The woke mind virus is the biggest threat to the civilization. The biggest threat to the civilization. He says, yes. Bigger than global warming, bigger than being a single planetary species, all sorts of threats to humanity. Elon saying the woke mind virus, the biggest threat to civilization. And I don't think he's being facetious here, right? This is something that we've seen develop rapidly over the last several years. We talked a little bit about this yesterday from the Jahana Hayes story that Jeff Bezos shared, talking about the bifurcation of America and really the world. The idea that social media is escalating the division rapidly and that people are going to the extremes in a way that is not going to be reconcilable in the future. And so it's a big problem. In fact, Elon, many people are arguing, is putting his money where his mouth is to buy the platform to de-wokeify Twitter. People saying here, Niche Gamer, Elon also responding, says, not just Netflix, movies in general, video games, TV, all infested with the current year trend woke garbage for fear of offending a green-haired freak next to the ban button. Nothing original anymore at all, except for the media coming out of places like Japan or Korea, ironically. Elon says, yeah, it's true. And if you go down the rest of the thread, you'll see a lot more conversations like that. And, you notice this, right? You go on basically any app you have, and there's special sections, telling you what a racist you are unless you purchase from these individuals or from these businesses. I don't have any problems with those businesses, but sometimes you just want a hamburger and you don't need to be told how racist you are unless you get a hamburger from a certain vendor or whatever. And it's everywhere. And I think people are getting tired of it. Honestly, I know I am. I know many of you are, which is why we're turning to alternative media, going to content creators we like, subscribing to their channels and supporting their shows. Whether that's here or elsewhere, I think it's something that's happening, right? People are changing their consumption patterns because they don't want to get on there and be told what a terrible person they are. They want to just unplug for a little bit and get connected outside of their life where they're told that they're racist and horrible people for, all 12 hours a day. They just want a couple hours of a little peace and relaxation. But many of these companies have jumped on the bandwagon. And if they don't jump on that bandwagon, well, they get castigated by their fans. And so they're sort of in this damned if you do, damned if you don't position. Jordan Peterson talked a lot about this and actually referenced Ethan Klein, who's another big YouTuber, saying, look, if you jump on this team, you are going to be somebody who is now in a very precarious position because you're never going to be able to keep everybody happy. And in this situation, by identifying themselves as sort of this woke company that's going to cram certain content down your gullet, they've alienated huge portions of their audience. And the consequences are evident in the stock market. Bloomberg was also telling us that the share price dropped, I think, erased $46 billion in value, right? Not insignificant. Very serious numbers. And there's going to be some changes, certainly. I think that they're probably going to eliminate the ability to share your accounts. Also talking about introducing a cheaper advertising supported option for subscribers in the next couple of years, start to crack down on people sharing their passwords even before that. So probably some changes coming to Netflix. If you still watch it, you may need to get your own account these days, but bad news for the wokers. What's the quote? Get woke, go broke. Speaking of Elon getting woke, going broke, you can see Elon here had another tweet that came out. He's still going after Twitter, rightfully so, but he posted something last night that had some eyebrows raised. Bloomberg's reporting it's another cryptic hint about a Twitter tender offer, 82 million followers. And last night he posted this. He said, blank is the night. You can see this here on this tweet from Bloomberg. He's saying here, blank in the night. Now, a lot of people are doing deep dive analysis on this, and you can see here Bloomberg starts us off. The 50-year-old billionaire posted a cryptic tweet with a blank space for a word. What could it possibly be? The end of the sentence is the night. The missing language could be a couple different words. It could be tender from F. Scott Fitzgerald's book, or it could be tonight, as Musk used 7 underscores for the blank space. So we see here some deep analysis on this. Somebody counted the underscores. Apparently there's 7 of them. The word tonight, 7 letters. It fits. And maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe tonight is the night that we take over Twitter. We'll see. Did he take it over? Doesn't look like it, but we'll see. We'll see what the plan was, or if that was something in motion, or it's tender is the night. A lot of different reasons or words that Elon could be using, but a lot of people are having fun with this. Let's go over to Washington. You can see the AP is reporting a little bit of a change. We didn't know what the Biden administration was going to do after the Florida Middle District judge came out and tossed the international domestic mask mandates, said that those were unconstitutional because they didn't follow the proper procedures in implementing them. They didn't give the public opportunity for notice and comment, and they should have done that. The judge said, got to get rid of it. A lot of people on the left hysterical about it. And my original prognostication was that they were going to appeal this. It's the Biden administration. They have been beating us over the head with the pandemic for as long as they've been in office. And why is this going to stop now? And then I was a little bit surprised when they came out and they said, well, I guess it's your choice now. And then I thought, well, maybe I got that one wrong, because it's an election season and everybody's over COVID. They kind of pivoted to Ukraine now. They're, oh, we're done with that and pay attention to this one. And then we see that they don't even have their story straight. And it looks like they may, in fact, appeal it if the CDC says so. And so they don't even know what they're doing over there. I think that they really want to appeal it. It's sort of in their bones. They're just sort of chomping at the bit to do it. But they know that they're in an election season. The public is over this stuff. People are cheering on planes, ripping their masks off. Every single company seems like they're trending that direction. I saw Uber, Lyft are bailing on it. And they just are unhappy about this. People still say, well, I'm masking up still. Well, that's great. You're free to do that. You can put 4 or 5 of them if you want on your face. Nobody cares. Have a field day. But here, the AP is saying, well, the feds now, because I'm sure the Democrats heard about this. They got their constituents saying, you're going to kill me if you don't appeal this. And so they decided, well, we got to sort of thread the needle on this one a little bit. Here you can see AP says feds will appeal the mask ruling, but only if the mandate is still needed. So they're going to dump this back on the CDC. They're going to, well, we don't want to deal with this political hot potato. So CDC, can you tell us, do we still need this? Yes or no? And here we can see a little bit more here. Justice Department said on Tuesday, it's not going to appeal here unless the CDC says it's necessary. Here's the statement. We'll just read from the statement. Anthony Cooley, he's over from the DOJ. He's the spokesperson, director of public affairs, you can see here. And so he came out and posted this shortly thereafter. Says, Justice Department issues a statement on the lawsuit. The spokesman comes from Cooley, says, the Department of Justice and the Center for Disease Controls disagree with the district court's decision and will appeal, subject to the CDC's conclusion that the order remains necessary for public health. The department continues to believe that the order requiring masks in transportation is a valid exercise of authority of Congress and has given CDC to protect public health. It's not, as we went through 59 pages of it. They have to go through the proper procedures. They don't just get to say, we're the CDC, it's an emergency, therefore we get to do whatever we want. The judge came out and said you had many, many months to impose something like this, sit down, give the public notice and comment. We still live in a system where there is input from the governed, even though they don't want that. So they shoved it down everybody's face, literally on their faces, without any notice and comment. Can't do that. That is an important authority the department will continue to work to preserve, they say. Well, you don't have it, as the judge said. And you have, if you want it back, you're going to have to appeal it. On April 13th, 2022, before the district court's decision, CDC explained that the order would remain in effect while it assessed current public health conditions, and that the Transportation Security Administration would extend its directive implementing the order to May 3rd. So they were going to keep it all the way till May 3rd. That's a short 13 days from today. If the CDC concludes that a mandatory order remains necessary for the public's health after that assessment, DOJ will appeal the district court's decision. So, you know, you hate to be right sometimes, but I mean, they are so invested in this issue, they can't just roll over on it. I mean, huge portions of this country are still holed up in their houses, petrified about what they've been told over the last several years, that, you know, this is an existential threat to everything. And here, if the administration is now sort of waffling on this, fighting tooth and nail for the masks everywhere you go, people literally modified their identities to become maskers. And we see it on Twitter, right? People posting pictures of themselves. I'm wearing a mask. Good for you. I'm going to print that out and put it on the refrigerator next to your friends. Ridiculous. So now you're going to tell those people that this is not the issue, the hill to die on anymore, and the administration is just going to say, oh, well, we lost a lower level middle district court of Florida judge said so, and so that's it? No, they can't. They tried it, but they probably got an earful from their constituents, and so they came back out. They're going to dump it back on the CDC. We'll see what the CDC says about it. And maybe this does get appealed, and maybe this goes up to the Supreme Court, which is going to look a little different. We've got a new judge who may be coming in pretty soon, and some interesting things are happening with her. We, of course, know that Ketanji Brown Jackson is now confirmed by the Senate. She's going to be on her way into the Supreme Court. But something interesting is happening with her because Judge Breyer hasn't retired yet. He's not gone. Judge Breyer's still in there. He's still sitting, listening to oral arguments, ruling on cases. And so what is Joe Biden doing? Signing her commission. There's no opening yet. Breyer indicated that he was going to retire, but that doesn't happen until June or July. DOJ, though, came out and they issued this opinion, and they said, hey, Joe, listen, you know, we know that you're in a very precarious position, and so we can't really wait for you to sign this document until June or July. So we're going to do our research. We're going to investigate all this and see if we can come up with some sort of justification for you to sign this document a little bit early. And they did. And Joe Biden signed it. So he signed Jackson's Supreme Court commission early in what Bloomberg's calling an unusual move. Says a top court seat won't open until Breyer retires, but they say he can prospectively appoint her. So this is new. Interesting little dynamic here. And why would this be such an urgency if Joe Biden is really healthy and vibrant and full of vigor running around the White House? President Biden signed papers to appoint Ketanji to the Supreme Court earlier this month, even though she can't begin work until Judge Breyer retires. Biden signed Jackson's commission on April 8th, the day they appeared together at the White House. Jackson's precise status has been the subject of online discussion stemming from the unprecedented timing of her Senate confirmation more than 2 months before a vacancy was expected to arise. Typically, judges sworn in almost immediately after the president signs the commission, right? It's sort of like an urgent thing. They go through, they get confirmed, they go in, they take the oath of office, and boom, they're on the bench. Not happening here because Breyer's not gone yet. And remember, they were urging him to get out of here. I mean, AOC and many people, part of the squad, were saying he's got to go, he's too old. And it was kind of offensive. They had the whole slogan, retire Breyer, you know, and they had the bus that was sort of doing laps around the Supreme Court. Justice Department Office of Legal Counsel, which is sort of the lawyer to the presidency, to the executive branch, they concluded in an April 6 opinion that the president could, quote, prospectively appoint Jackson before Breyer steps down. Opinion relied on a 1970 memo written by Judge William Rehnquist, or on a related issue by Judge Rehnquist. The ins and outs of the appointment process aren't likely to have any practical ramifications. And I wouldn't think so. You know, it's sort of a foregone conclusion, right? She's been confirmed. So either he signs the commission now or later. Typically, what's the difference? Unless something's going to happen between now and later. I don't know. So why does he have to sign it early? Is he not going to be there in June or July? What's the urgency here? Here it says Biden's signing of her commission might eliminate any theoretical possibility of the Senate trying to reconsider her confirmation. She won on a 53-47 vote. So maybe it's something different. Maybe there's something in Ketanji's background that might pop up and they're concerned about this. So they're just trying to get it all done. Nope, we already signed the contract. No backsies. Takesies, backsies on that one. 53-47, we're done. She's not sitting on the bench yet, but she'll be there soon. Or it could be that Joe Biden wouldn't be around to sign it later. So they just had to get it out of the way. The administration's approach could also serve as a precedent for future Supreme Court appointments in politically divisive eras, and Republicans, of course, will use it. Opinion comes from Christopher Schrader. President said, can make appointments in anticipation, and he declined to provide a copy of the commission that Biden signed. So just more weird stuff out of the White House. Who knows if Joe Biden even signed it? Maybe the Easter Bunny brought it in front of his face and said, Joe, sign this document. He's, oh yeah, I forgot. I do whatever you say. So here is, that's more information from Bloomberg on Ketanji Brown Jackson. But also out of Washington, another interesting story, this one coming over from the Daily Caller. We have a representative, Democrat from Connecticut. Her name is Jahana Hayes. And this story was published April 19, 2022. We see a close-up. I mean, too close, Daily Caller. There's a lot of photos of people. That's just, and I pick photos, for thumbnails and the content we create here. But this one's just a little bit too close. All right, enough of that. All right, here, Democratic Congresswoman congressperson was caught paying her family tens of thousands of dollars since entering Congress after the Daily Caller reviewed FEC records. Says has continued to pay her children with campaign funds and reimbursed herself for petty cash, possibly breaking the law. And I'm thinking, is this a problem? I mean, we know that Hunter Biden was sort of palling around being the bag man for Joe Biden. We know that Romney and his kids were sort of invested in all sorts of different foreign gas companies, just like Hunter was. We know that this is something that goes on, right? These elected officials just sort of bring everybody under their purview and dole out your hard-earned tax dollars to their kids because they need it more than you do. In February, Daily Caller first reported on this. Q4 2021, Hayes used her campaign funds called Friends of Jahana Hayes to pay her son $15,000 since entering Congress. Wonder what that's for. $15,000, 282 increments. The name goes to David Crenshaw under the category of payroll. Age 24. Joined to celebrate her congressional victory. Despite scrutiny for paying her adult children tens of thousands of dollars, Q1 FEC records show Hayes is still paying her daughter $700 per month. Claremont, what is all this for? Payroll. Look, I'm all for family businesses and things like that, but I wonder what is actually going on here. FEC records also show Hayes is still paying her son $500 per month. Hayes reimbursed herself $250 for petty cash. FEC has strict rules about these. You see here, $250, April 14th, petty cash. April 14th, what was that for there, Jahana? Flowers on Valentine's Day? You getting some chocolates there for yourself? A committee may make disbursements from a petty cash fund, but petty cash payments for one person for any one purchase may not exceed $100, and she took $250 there. Breaking the law. For each disbursement more than $200, the committee must keep receipt, invoice, or canceled check. The Daily Caller reported Hayes has faced heat from local media, with some raising questions about her children's involvement. You can see YouTube has several links on this. Republican candidates called on the House Committee Ethics to investigate this. So yeah, more ethics complaints that will probably go nowhere, and she'll get reelected, for the next 20 years or so, because that's how the system works. Once you get in there, then you get to grift off everybody and sort of cement yourself in your position of power, because you can use those funds to sort of create a moat against any threats that might come your way. Libs of TikTok, also a massive story right now. You can see here on Twitter at Libs of TikTok, commenting on Taylor Lorenz, a Washington Post so-called journalist who wrote an entire article doxing Libs of TikTok. And there's some debate about whether the actual article doxed the actual owner of the account of Libs of TikTok, but there's several different screenshots and web archives showing that they did in fact link to personally identifying information from the main article on the Washington Post that they then edited. But we're going to go into this story just a little bit here. I know you're probably watching a lot of this elsewhere because it blew up yesterday. Tucker Carlson talked about it. It was trending all over Twitter. Libs of TikTok has an amazing channel, an amazing Twitter feed where they go and they post videos from TikTok of liberals with their green hair or whatever it is they're doing, communicating about their ideas. And that's it. Just takes them and reposts them here and says, yeah, I want you to see what's happening here. And for some reason, people like Taylor Lorenz, people like the Washington Post, many people on the left say that's offensive. They say you're disparaging these people by posting their messages out for the world to see, which is interesting because I think that's what most content creators want. I mean, I know that, sometimes I sort of step in it here, but I encourage people to share my stuff. Please share it. Like it, share it, send it to somebody. Here, Libs of TikTok has a major account taking messages from people who are very proud of their ideology and their ideas and the things they want to share and teach kids and all this stuff. They post it publicly. Libs of TikTok just comes and reposts it. And now the left is very unhappy with this person, run by a woman, not going to identify her or talk about her at all. But you can see here on Twitter saying, thank you for the support. Words cannot express how appreciative I am of the support I'm receiving right now. Thankfully, I'm holed up in a safe location. I'm confident we're going to get through this, come out even stronger, which is true. Grateful for all the thoughts and prayers. And this is referencing, this is what came over from Taylor Lorenz. Now, she's, like I said, a so-called journalist there at the Washington Post, almost 300,000 followers. So she's got a big audience. Here, she posted this yesterday, April 19th at 5:53 a.m. I'm not going to click over to the article. They don't need the views. But here you can see she writes, Libs of TikTok has become a powerful cross-platform social media influencer. All right. Spreading anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment by reposting their videos and fueling the right-wing media's outrage machine by building an audience, which is exactly what she's doing. I don't know what she's talking about. It says, I wrote about the account, the woman behind it, and why it matters. Now, if you do click over there, Washington Post modified several of the links in the article, but it's several people that I trust and read regularly say that they saw it and they followed it to, the woman's professional licenses and things like this. Now, the very brave, courageous woman, Taylor Lorenz, is somebody who also shares her story in a way that you can't even comment on it. Now, you see this here? So you can't comment on it. Who can reply? Only people that Taylor Lorenz follows or mention can reply because she's an absolute coward, right? She'll come out here and speak about somebody and not even give you the opportunity to respond. So only the people that she follows, which is, about 7,500 people, which is a significant amount, but it's not the people who are going to be critical of her story, right? So she's going to be sort of limiting the comments on this and goes through the whole sort of smear and actually identifies the person by name and then links to a bunch of personally identifying information. So pretty horrendous stuff. Now, actually showing up, going to people's residences. You've got Ben Shapiro jumping in on it. You see here more comments from Libs of TikTok, JD Vance. And then we see that there was actually Taylor Lorenz crying about this type of behavior. She's 40-something years old, this woman. And listen to her crying on camera about how awful it is to be doxxed.
You feel like any little piece of information that gets out on you will be used by the worst people on the internet to destroy your life.
You just did that.
So isolating.
You just did the whole...
It's terrifying.
It's horrifying.
You wrote a whole article.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
It's overwhelming. It's really hard.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like
40-something years old crying on national TV about this, a PTSD is what she said. And she literally wrote an entire article doing exactly what she was crying about there. Absolutely pathetic, to be honest. So she's crying about it, then doing the same thing. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. She's a faker. She's a journalist, just like many of these other losers. She's a faker about it. She's going to, be the pot calling the kettle black. It's reprehensible. She has another quote from April 3rd that Libs of TikTok found, says, if your segment or story on online harassment leads to even worse online harassment for your subjects, you effed up royally. And you should learn how to cover these things properly before talking about them again. Okay, well, Libs of TikTok, of course, is on the receiving end of your, I guess, abusive reporting, if you want to go that way. And the memes are flowing juicy. Glenn Greenwald says, that this is a viral lie, talking about this idea. Matt Binder reported, said all of the info in the Libs of TikTok piece was already publicly available, but Taylor had one thing that no one else had, which was Glenn Greenwald accidentally confirming her identity. He says, total lie. She announced she intended to publish Libs of TikTok's name after Libs of TikTok provided proof Taylor went to her relatives' houses and asked me to report it to deter Taylor from stalking more people. Fake news media coming out here. Taylor Lorenz also harassing several different accounts, saying, hey, just following up. Looks like you're unaffiliated, but you may have been implicated in starting a hate campaign against LGBTQ people. Just threatening people. You've been implicated. Respond to me or else. The Washington Post put out this statement. They say Taylor Lorenz is an accomplished and diligent journalist whose reporting methods comport entirely with the Washington Post standards. Libs of TikTok account in her media and interviews has had impact on public discourse. And they say, and her identity had become public knowledge. We did not publish or link to any details about her personal life. Coming over from liar Cameron Barr, in my opinion, a liar. Senior managing editor, even Libs of TikTok calls it out, says lies. They included a link with personal information, which they later removed because they knew what they were doing was abhorrent. And a lot of people have confirmed this. Let's jump over to locals. We see three girlies in the house sharing an article saying Biden launches a $6 billion program to save struggling nuclear power plants, which is not a bad idea. You know, nuclear energy is very powerful, very useful. I think it's something that should be a part of any energy portfolio, to be honest. Here, $1 billion program was launched on Tuesday aimed at helping struggling nuclear power plants. $6 billion civil nuclear credit program will give relief to owners. Credits will go out. You know, I think it's probably way too little, too late, to be perfectly candid about this. You know, I read an article or I listened to something. I can't remember where I got it. But apparently China's building, you know, well over 100 nuclear power plants. And you just think about energy as a critical component of any real sustainable future or any real meaningful future. And if you have enough energy that's cheap, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can kind of build things. You can sequester CO2 from the atmosphere. You can desalinate salt water. All of these things are high energy intensive applications. So why is the United States not making the most energy at the most affordable rates and the most efficient, clean manner? I mean, it should be the sort of number one priority in many ways, because if you have cheap energy, then you can really expand on automation. You can help people travel and get places. It's sort of the oil of the economy. It makes everything, all the gears move freely. And for some reason, it's like, oh, we can't have any of that unless it's a certain type. It's kind of I think a shallow way to look at the entire situation. Another comment here from Speech Unleashed talking about the masks coming off says, true story just happened today. One of my husband's coworkers was on a flight today, saw the following regarding the striking of the mandates. One of the passengers started complaining that the guy sitting next to him wasn't wearing a mask. When the flight attendant explained to him, masks no longer required. Even the flight attendants weren't wearing the masks. The guy started hyperventilating and flailing his hands around. It's not good if you're concerned about COVID. I mean, you don't want to be consuming more air in your mouth, in your lungs. So they moved the guy to the back of the plane to sit next to some other passengers who were voluntarily wearing masks. Uh-oh. Back of the plane, that's like segregation. We got maskers and anti-maskers. This is going to be trouble. However, the guy was not happy with being moved and demanded he get to sit in his original seat, and that they make the guy not wearing the mask move instead. Flight attendants weren't having any of it, told him, you're the problem, so you have to move. Good job, flight attendants. Oh, how the tides have turned. That's just a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that speech. We have here, grouchy old cat lady. Personally, I'm tired of everybody screaming victim. Everyone is a victim of something in their lives. Get up and learn from it. Don't file lawsuits over everything. Michelle Obama, sister-in-law, sue the former school over alleged racial bias. I know everybody's racist these days. Mr. MVP saying that there's a lot of fentanyl pills coming into the United States. Not a surprise at all. We are going to see some serious border problems very soon. Heffalumps and Woozles is here, says this is not a story that's getting much attention. People from the Trump train just followed the Biden bus into Texas. They're being sued, and a judge just ruled against their dismissal attempt. Okay, I remember that. I didn't realize that they were being sued. I remember that they were saying that they were threatening some of the Biden people because the truckers had the Trump flags and they were sort of, around them. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks for sharing that, Heffalumps. Mr. MVP saying Governor DeSantis is on one, saying he's going to hold Twitter's board of directors and their leadership team accountable for injuring Florida's pension fund. And I saw some of that from the Governor DeSantis. I think the argument from him was they're breaching their fiduciary duty. And if there are shareholders in Florida, which of course there presumably are, the board members are breaching their fiduciary duty to those shareholders by inserting the poison pill in his argument, by not giving the shareholders the proper information or the proper opportunity to consider Elon's offer prior to denying it, saying they've got an obligation, a fiduciary duty to make sure that those shareholders are apprised of what's going on, and they're failing that. And maybe Florida, through the Attorney General, has the ability to make some consequence for them. Another one from Grouchy Old Cat Lady says, just what we need, more taxes. Biden White House says energy taxes are needed for a green transition. Yeah, there's not enough of them. I mean, aren't you already taxed on your energy bill? I mean, I know I am. I get it. There's several. No, the tax. So now we're just going to add another one to it. Beautiful. And that was it. It looks like some of the posts on Locals. Jumpin' Jeff said Elon had poked the machine, and now the machine has launched its first counterattack at Tesla in the form of a California tech billionaire who's decided to run for the Senate in California. Campaign focus is on how Tesla's software is unsafe. Really? Elon may be the new orange man. Grouchy Old Cat Lady says the biggest problem they have with Tesla, it's not unionized. In the Build Back Better bill, only union-built cars were eligible for rebates. And the Biden people have not really communicated about Tesla or Elon at all. They've basically been snubbing them for quite some time. And Elon knows it. He's irritated about it. The Antikiss sharing a link to the Money Masters movie, big long movie. This was, I think, 3 hours. I think I watched this probably 10 years ago or whenever it originally came out. But it's very interesting to learn more about the money supply and about how money works and why we use the dollar and how the dollar became what it is today. Why we used to have the gold standard and the gold sort of being tied to the dollar. Now it's not anymore. And there's a lot. I think once you sort of understand this as a fundamental concept, that you'll see how it impacts a lot of the other social issues and political issues we talk about. So I think it's very important to learn more about it. I haven't watched this one in a long time. It's 3.5 hours, my goodness. But I kind of remember liking it. So check that out here on our Locals community if you are, or it's on YouTube if you want to go check that out, The Money Masters. Thank you for sharing that, Vantika says. In fact, mark my words, you will never be able to unite with people to fight the real forces of corruption until you stop using all the BS terminology that is full of little more than religious symbols. Saying, this is what's important. This will show you where the true power lies in the world and why I have no use for the left-right nonsense. Yeah, I think it's a good point because it's deeper. It's more foundational. The Democrats and the Republicans, they're both people who are playing by the same rules that are established by the people who really control things. And there's a very interesting clip out there from the guy who is in the All In podcast. His name is Chamath Palihapitiya. And there's a clip of him, not from the All In podcast, where he's out there talking about this. He's a billionaire, somebody who's got a ton of money. And he said, look, politicians are just puppets. There's 150 people who run the world, and they do it by controlling the money flows. And you can look that clip up, but he does say it, and I don't doubt it, because I think you can see it. Why are the politicians mostly the same? Over the arc of my life, same issues are the same issues. Nobody's solving anything. Why is that? Well, it's serving them somehow. Serving the people who are really in charge somehow. That's why nothing changes. Here we can see a couple other posts. This one from Grouchy Old Cat Lady says, California transit system going to keep the masks in place. So only free faces in some part of this country. Of course, California is very not free, in my opinion, and they apparently like it. And another one from Three Girlies says, how stupid do they have to be? Shellacking coming soon. Going to be a red monsoon because the Biden administration is set to appeal the mandate if the CDC endorses it. Yeah, it could be a little rough for them, but I think they're just way too invested in this issue to let it go. If they do, many people on their side of the aisle are going to be very upset about it. Let's check out some YouTube member comments. Thanks for your support on YouTube, my friends. We see Deborah Yunker is here responding to headlines from yesterday where we were talking about Joe Biden playing interference with the Easter Bunny. He wanted to talk about Afghanistan. They didn't. Deborah says, doesn't the president have to go through the annual medical evaluation every year? If so, how in the world can we be missing, or they be missing, what we see on the screen every time we see him? I don't think that they're missing it. That's the whole point here. They know. That's why they've got Easter Bunny undercover going and careening him away from the crowd. They know. Yeah, and here, Elaine Kilgore says they're not missing it. They're doing everything they can to hide it or downplay it. And this is sort of the same pattern that we've seen even throughout the campaign. I mean, Joe Biden was missing in action, and it's just gone downhill from here. They're not even posting his schedule sometimes, his calendar, because they don't want you to know exactly what's going on. So it's quite bad, no doubt about it. And what's more interesting to me, I think the White House knows about it. You know, they know. And that's why they're creating all of these guardrails to protect themselves. But what's more interesting is that Democrats don't see this, or people on the other side of this conversation don't see it. Like we talked about Meghan McCain yesterday, and she posted a tweet that led me to believe that she still thinks that Joe Biden is competent and capable. She said, I can't believe his handlers are doing this to him. And you say, why can't you believe that? He's not there. What else would they do? Just let him go wander around and talk to people about whatever? So she must have, as a presumption, an idea in her mind that he is still functional. Ronnie Cole's here talking about the Hillary intervening video that came out yesterday. Of course, this is involving Sussman. Sussman, the former FBI or former campaign lawyer for Hillary that was charged with lying to the FBI. Hillary is now intervening in that criminal case, and she's doing so, asking the court to review documents that she doesn't want to send to the prosecutor, review documents under seal so that we can't see them. Ronnie Cole saying, how can a candidate seal documents? And it's because she's using the exception, or she's using the protection of attorney-client privilege to say that I am allowed to keep these documents to myself because they were created with the prospect of performing legal services. They're connected to representation, and they fall within the work product, the attorney-client privilege doctrines. Here, she's using that to try to seal these things. We'll see what the judge says about it. She's even going further, though. She wants the prosecution to not see the documents. She wants the judge to look at them and then decline to give them to the prosecution. And she also wants this done under seal, so you can't see them either. We'll see what the judge says. Hopefully, he denies all of that. Clyde Powers says, well, I know where Hillary, remember, destroyed the drives to her computer, so how hard would it be to get rid of the document? She's gotten away with so much. She thinks she's never going to be in trouble. Hopefully this time they'll catch up with her. Another one from Deborah said, we already got that one. Thank you to Deborah. Thank you to Ronnie Cole, Clyde Powers. Deborah says, can I get some extra butter on my popcorn, please? The Sussman case is going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. We're going to cover it. Trials heating up very soon, and all the motions are going back and forth. It's going to be fun. Danielle DeFries is here, says, everyone like and share this video. Rob should have a zillion subscribers. We have to get this out. Well, thank you, Danielle. I do appreciate that. A zillion subscribers. That would be a cool thing. Danielle also says, if I were a judge and someone didn't want me to see some documents, it would just make me want to look at them even more. Like, oh, I'm definitely looking at them now. And that was sort of my point yesterday, Danielle. The prosecution is saying, yeah, we want this stuff. Judge, we need it. We want it. Here's our justification for it. Hillary's saying they don't need it. And judge, you don't even need to look at it. Don't even look at it before you give it to them. It's not even relevant. It's not necessary. And now the judge is going to go, well, that's curious. I wasn't that interested in it until you said, I can't look at it. Now I want to look at it. I mean, at least that's kind of how I would be as a judge. What do you mean what do you mean I can't look at it? No, I'll look at it, and then I'll be the one that decides on this thing. And I think that's probably what you're going to see. Don DeBeer says, but these creatures are compromised. Tree Lane on the headline show yesterday talking about the airlines and Judge Thomas being back says, he looks like how those kids look when he gets too close and chummy with them, talking about Joe Biden and the Easter Bunny face. And Joe Biden's Easter Bunny face was, sort of petrified, and then he kind of got his composure back again. I was a little concerned that maybe he might have, a physical attack of some sort. He was petrified. What if his own press secretary gave him an aneurysm on Easter holiday during the education event? Almost an assassination attempt. Not good. Peas and Butter says, the White House must be watching this show. We asked for a handler for Joe, and today we got the Easter Bunny. I don't know if they are. I doubt it. I'm not sure that this show would connect with anybody over there, but they are upping their handling game. That is for sure. And we weren't even speculating about that. I mean, how could you prognosticate that they would put little press secretary advisor deputies, people who are working in the White House, in Easter Bunny outfits to go and corral Joe Biden away from stepping in it again? It's very clever. You got to hand it to this administration. If they put a little bit of the effort into providing guardrails to protect Joe Biden, into actual governance, maybe we'd see some actual improvements. No, we wouldn't. They're terrible. All right. Well, that's it, my friends, for the headlines, the comments, the great stories. Thank you for sharing them on Locals, on YouTube. Thanks for your support. If you're joining anywhere on any of the platforms to sort of support the work that we do here, of course, I very much appreciate it. I want to thank you for your time with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed the content. If you did, I'd appreciate a share, a like, a thumbs up, a comment before you got out of here. Don't forget to subscribe. We're here back tomorrow for another headlines, more information about what's going on in the world and on the docket, and I look forward to seeing you there.